Hey, what's up, guys? This is the Show Me Better podcast. Man, one of the things I hate about like the process of like podcasting and being like the solo person is the fact that, well, I guess it's both a good and a potentially negative thing, is the fact that you have control over like all the things that you want to try to accomplish, but at the same time, you also, I guess, have the freedom to like do it whenever you want. And so sometimes you have to push it off. And so, like last year, sometime, probably early part of the year, uh, I started a podcast with my wife, Mandy, which we'll be getting that started back up soon. um, but like I started a podcast then, and then life got crazy busy between church stuff and like kids sports. We had baseball, track, all kinds of different stuff, right? Um, but anyway, so I have been meaning to like start my own separate podcast, centered around a video series I did a few years ago called Show Me Better. And so this is the official Show Me Better podcast. And man, one of the reasons why I feel like this particular podcast is so important is because, man, there is such a loss for like direction for kids, I would say. Um, and just to kind of give you a little bit about me, if this is your first time interacting with me, my name is TJ Tyler, and I have literally been either teaching or mentoring, or even just like finding myself in a place where kids are just naturally like drawn to my personality. And so I'm 37 years old. Collectively, between my kids in love, my adopted kids, my kids that have passed on, and my biological kids, we have about 11 kids in total. And when I say we, I mean my wife and I. And one of the things that has always been a passion of mine is to be the best dad that I can possibly be. And as I've gotten older, it's something that I've become more passionate about. And even in the way that I have like tried to navigate through parenting, navigating through my own health issues, it's all been with the central focus of number one, to like honor God in the way that I live and I parent. But number two, like be a dad that looks back at some of the poor choices that I've made in the past, and try to correct those like in real time. And so it's not that this podcast is all about fatherhood, even though that is one of the central focuses of this podcast. But it's just about, I'd say, all of us being able to be better, right? So the purpose of it being called Show Me Better, is because as parents, man, we mess things up a lot, and a lot more than our kids even realize. They only have a certain perspective in the way that it affects them, but then there's this whole other side to a dad and all the intrusive thoughts that we have whenever we're in a place where we're healthy enough to be able to see I messed up in this, and this way, and it has different effects on us. And so, what my hopes are is through this podcast, being able to be vulnerable in hopes of like sparking a change in the in this generation's dad and my generation's dads to be better, right? And not just for us to be better, through our vulnerability and our active pursuit to like change, but also like to be able to show kids better, right? Because I had great parents, and I'm sorry, I have great parents. They have always supported me like in different ways, but there are things that my parents could have done better, right? Um, and one of the ways that I was able to see that in real time is like um, watching my parents grow as people, right? So some of the things that they like ways that they handle my childhood, that could have been better. Like we've had conversations to where they're like, you know, we could have done things different. And now we are doing counseling, or now we're reading more books, or now we are submitting to the work of the Holy Spirit in a way that maybe it wasn't as easy for us to do that back then. And so the way that like the majority of the way that kids like see health, and they see like changes, and not even just for kids, but like us in general, is by watching, taking in information, and then trying to apply those things, and then evaluating how we're doing. And so like a lot of this podcast will be like picking the brains of people that are really good at doing exactly that. Like we are trying to find ourselves in places where like we're not satisfied with the way that things have been up to this point. We are actively pursuing becoming better. You know, one of the things that I've heard people say, really having to do with a lot of different things, but specifically in like spiritual ways, right, is that like there's certain parts of them that's really hard for them to like fight or for them to correct. And so instead of actively pursuing like health in those areas, what will happen is that they will just say, oh, well, this is just a part of who I am. And, you know, in some situations, well, I'm just shoot it straight, man. Like in all of those situations, it is a matter of making the choice. I am going to be intentional in being better than what I have been in the past, or what I've been known to be. There's so many young people that are like stuck right there in that space. There's great things about them. They've got great potential, but like because the cusp, or like the highest level of what they've seen is that statement, I've always been this way, and it's just a part of who I am, it keeps them from breaking through that ceiling. And so again, what I hope to see is breaking through that glass ceiling past, this is who I've always been, and this is what people have told me I will always be, to I can be better. I don't have to stay in a space of like being lazy. I don't have to stay in a space where I am reacting in emotion constantly, as opposed to looking for ways to be able to complete the task that's been set before me, or defeat the challenge that stepped in front of me. And so this is about inspiration, man. And then also like introducing people to new things, introducing like some of the people that will listen to this to new concepts of parenting, new concepts of ways that we think, new ways of being able to be a son, be a daughter, new ways to look at our husband, new ways to look at our children, new ways, just new ways. And so what I'm hoping is that this will be a part of the transition into health, into fun, into interest, into advice, that maybe changes the dynamic of your relationship with the world as you see it. And so this is Show Me Better in Real Life, the podcast. I'm looking forward to what this looks like, and how it affects you, and how we grow together.